Hey everyone, it's Anna J. Wellner with the Bookish Nook on the Author Library Network, sponsored by Creative Edge Publicity. And with me today, I am pleased to have MJ Preston. MJ, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So,
Chatting.
MJ is the author of dark speculative fiction, which seems appropriate to have you on the show just before Halloween. For our viewers and listeners, can you describe what dark speculative fiction is?
Oh boy, I don't know. I'm if I can give it a proper coin because I write in that realm, but there are probably people that would beat me up for it. But it's just writing it's dark speculative fiction. We're going to go down a rabbit hole of something very dark and possibly frightening, and we're gonna look at it and investigate it, and I'm going to tell you a story, and hopefully I scare you a little. So that's basically it for me,
I
anyways.
I like it. So Acadia Event is one of your most recent releases, and I'm so very intrigued. It's part creature feature, part mystery, part adventure. It seems to have it all, like a thrill ride in a book. I mean,
Yeah,
does that pretty well sum it up?
yeah. Acadia Event was actually it is a re-release with Wild Blue Press. They picked it up, and it came out exactly at the same time as my almost close to the same time as my latest novel four. But Acadia Event is just an awesome book because it's a science fiction horror. It's set north of the 60th parallel, and basically a guy gets hoodwinked into going doing a diamond heist, running up the world's longest ice road. No, not Liam Neeson. Okay, because he was just in that Ice Road movie, which is not like this. But anyways, he goes on this heist, and he's been threatened. They've kidnapped his wife. They're going to kill his wife if he doesn't go up and retrieve a satchel of stolen diamonds from one of the diamond mines. And on his way back down, they get interrupted by an alien invasion because at the other diamond mine, the Acadia diamond mine, they found something buried in the ice, and they turn a machine on, and it opens up a portal that releases thousands upon thousands of aliens into the north. So that's Acadia Event in a nutshell, and then it becomes a fight for survival of the world. So it's a lot of fun. There's everything, every aspect in it you can think of it, from Irish gangsters to and it's set in Canada, but it's like I say, it was so much fun. But here's the cliche or the kicker is I was an ice road trucker for 3 years, so I'm a lot of it is based. I'm not going to say based on fact because there's no aliens
Right.
up there or Irish gangsters. Um, but the whole backdrop, I was up there for 3 years in that driving a transport truck. So essentially, the main character, Marty Croft, is kind of semi autobiographical. Like everything that he feels and
Gotcha.
he's seen, I took from my first year going up there. So it's a real fun novel.
It's so fun to be able to use past experiences to write from and draw from, not necessarily, that it is autobiographical, but that whenever you come to this part where you're like, oh, what would this character do? Oh, I've been in that situation before. I know exactly what I did. And then you can kind of move the character arc forward by using past experiences of your own.
Yeah, well, I mean, Acadia Event was really born out of a really cool idea too, because I wrote my first novel, which was called The
Sounds
Equinox,
like it.
and I independently published it, but it was doing really good. It had a readership, it was getting great reviews, and I put it in the Amazon Breakthrough Awards, and it was going forward, and it was going to the next level. And I figured because it's a horror novel, something it's going to get knocked out, right? And then off I go to do this ice road thing. So I brought a box of books with me, and my friend Brad, he's peddling the books as we're going up the ice. Oh, you got to buy the Equinox play. So we're selling Ice Road Truckers Equinox books. And I had no intention of writing another novel, nothing at all. And then I started looking around this landscape. I said, wow, is this ever a cool place? So there the seed was set into the ground, and off we went with Acadia.
Oh,
So
I love that. It's yeah, as I feel like, once you've been bitten by the creative bug, like it will eventually bite you again. And so, you'll be inspired by, like you said, just the landscape and the act of driving through,
Yeah.
down the ice, and then you start to question things, and your mind starts to wander, and you start to wonder, and you, before you know it, you have this idea for a really fantastic book. And Acadia Event, I've got to read this book because it sounds amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny, and that's the way the process starts. Is like you're driving up these roads, and it's basically the Arctic. Okay, so you're just looking at a
Mm-hmm.
flat horizon of, and you've got four trucks in a convoy, and they're all a half a kilometer apart. You know, because the ice, if you open your window, you can hear
Right.
the ice popping and cracking below you and everything. So you start thinking, wow, okay, well, this is cool. Oh, how could we put a person up here? I just don't want to come up and be an ice road trucker. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, this guy's got to have a criminal past, and it's got to come back to haunt him. And that's where this starts flowing in your head. And I have like a filing
Yeah.
cabinet back there, and I stick this stuff, and it just sits back there until I get in front of a keyboard. And I didn't get in front of a keyboard for 3 months because I still had to do the ice road trucking
Right.
thing up and down the roads there. Eh? But I got every aspect that you see in the book. They have a category 3 storm there that basically wipes out the ice road. When I was up there on my first year, we had a category 3 storm that wiped out the entire ice road, and we were stranded up at the mine for 5 days while they cut a new ice road, which is 500 kilometers
Whoa.
all the way back up to us so we could get down. And you've only got 6 weeks to get all these supplies in before the lakes melt. So it's a dash to get it going. Eh? And so we went down and we came back up, and we just keep running these loads back and forth because once that's out, then they got to fly everything in. But it was just, I mean, this storm that came in, I mean, I said, man, I got to have that in a book. So we had a category 3 storm in there. And a category 3 storm is when you take your hand and go to put it in front of your face like that in the snow, you can't see your hand. It's so
A
bad.
full whiteout.
Yeah. So we got in we were sleeping in our trucks at the diamond mine. This category 3 storm comes in, and next, we got snow up to the doors of our trucks. We had to, cover our air filters to and the trucks don't shut off because it's so cold up there. It's
You
like
can't.
70
Yeah.
below. Yeah. But it was a weird experience because it's like, no, it's no longer safe for you guys to be in the trucks. We're putting you in the mine in rooms because nobody is allowed outside. Right. And that's how bad it was. So
Oh,
I thought,
wow.
this is just so cool to experience this. There's all sorts of stuff like that happened. Even when I went up the Ingram Trail is probably the most infamous story I got. Is it's 70 kilometers and it's winding and it's up and down and icy. And I'm pulling Super B tankers with fuel behind me. So you climb up this hill, you get over the top, and then
Oh,
these things are shoving you down this
I was
icy
gonna
road, and there's a
say,
turn at the bottom, right?
people don't
So,
understand that when you're hauling liquid, it's an entirely different
oh yeah,
driving process in an 18 wheeler because you have shifting fluid behind you. So every time you stop, every time you start, you have the inertia of the fluid that's impacting the entire, chassis of
yeah,
the 18 wheeler. It's
yeah.
not like
It's
just
not.
driving a box truck.
Well, it's not so bad in the sense with fuel, because fuel, they put what's called baffles inside the tanks, so it doesn't slosh, but it's still the momentum of pulling it up and the weight will push you down a hill. So when I first did this was pretty extreme driving for me. I'd never done it before, and it scared the crap out of me. Like every time I had to go up this Ingram Trail and I get to the top, and my buddy would come back from his truck and say, "How you doing?" I said, well, I made it. And he said, hey, so how'd it feel? Still scared the living shit out of me. It's like trip 3, right? But I wasn't going to stop doing it. And so I was able to incorporate that into my character, like the emotion of being afraid of, like, all of a sudden you're going over a hill. Now you're going down. It's a hard right. And you're like, oh my God, am I going to lose this? Because there were times, like, until I got comfortable and understood how, how the roads were and how the tankers would react and everything like that. It was freaky as hell, but it was also a great experience. I mean, it's like jumping out of an airplane. Which I would never do. But if you jump out of an airplane to learn about skydiving, then you got to write about it. You're going to be all the better writer for it to have jumped out
Right.
of the airplane. Why I
Oh.
will never write about skydivers. So.
Well, along with Acadia, you also have the fourth installment or the second installment of the Highwaymen series. And again, the series itself seems like one of those fast-paced page turners.
Yeah, I'm a research hound. So when I wrote the Equinox, which is basically about an indigenous man chasing a skinwalker, I consulted with people and I did a lot of research. But at the end of the day, it's a horror novel, so take it for what it is.
Right, right.
Acadia Event, same thing. I got kind of a hands-on thing. When I started the Highwayman series, um, 4 was actually the book that was right beside Acadia, which I was deciding which book I was going to write. I had a couple of chapters of each, and I gave 4 to my wife, Stormy, and I gave an Acadia Event to my mentor, who's a writer named Jim Steele. And Jim came back and he said, "You got to write that Acadia Event." And then so I started Acadia Event, and my wife hadn't read it yet, and she got back to me, "So, oh my God, you got to write this book 4." So so I wrote 4, or sorry, I was already into Acadia Event, so I wrote it. And then I was going to go back and I started 4 again. And then I was talking to a friend in New Hampshire when I was there visiting on a writers conference. And he said, "You should do a throwaway, man." I said, "What's a throwaway?" He says, "Oh, you write a little, a little story that's connected to your novel and you give it away for free.
Right.
It'll encourage people to come to your novel." So what a great idea. So I started writing Highwayman. And Highwayman, I wrote it as a novella and then it didn't work. And I said, "The hell with it, I got to write a novel." So I wrote Highwayman as a prequel to 4, and 4 is the second half of the Highwayman story. And somehow along the line, I said, "Well, I like these characters, so I've decided I'm
Oh,
going to revisit them in further books." However, but this is a single story that has a beginning and has an end, and
gotcha.
it's not
A
Jason where
cliffhanger.
you're going to, but it's not going to, it's a single case. So the next book is going to be
Gotcha.
a completely different case.
Well, speaking of which, are we going to see the Highwayman series continue, or is this a duology? Are we done?
Well, I've got 2 more books in the wings for it, and one I'm working on right now, which is the 3rd Highwayman book. And then I've also got a good portion of the 4th Highwayman book also working on. So I expect the next thing to be published will be the next Highwayman book, which I guess I can let slip. The name is going to be called Max, and that'll be book 3. Um,
Hey,
but I'm also working on something on the side, as I said to you earlier. I won't divulge the name of it, but it's sure to offend. It's got a bit more of a comedy edge to it, though, and so and this is something that but also, but like I say, if it incites a book burning, let's go. But anyways, it's all in good humor, and so I'm playing with something
right.
else on the side. But that's something an author named Craig DeLuey said, "You got to write a dime novel." So I'm writing a dime novel. So,
I love it. I love it. So, I mean, what would you say, and what would you say has been the best part of your journey as an author so far? I love to ask this question every once in a while because everyone has a different take on being an author and what it means to them and what the best part about it is.
well, you know what? Writing a book is like watching a movie for the first time by yourself that nobody else has seen, but it takes a hell of a long time, right? So, but the first draft of writing a book for me is always the best part because you're watching the
Mhm.
movie in its
Yeah.
roughness, just like it's being shot out on, if they're out on a set shooting a movie, they
Right.
take all the strips back and they put them all together. You do the same thing with a manuscript. You write the story beginning to end, and you got to go back and clean it up and clean it up, clean it up until it's presentable to the public. Um, so that is the coolest part of writing for me. That is, but the best part of the end of it, because by the time you get to the end of the process, there's so much mechanical and everything else, is that when the project ends, oh geez, goodness, that's done, right? Because you've gone through it with three edits, and you
Oh gosh.
never mind
Yeah.
your own personal edits, but you got your copy edit, all this stuff that you got to go through and fix and blah blah blah. And then you have a lot of times before you even get to that phase, you've got to cut a lot of stuff out that you wrote if you got long-winded or whatever.
Right.
But the thing of it is once you get it out there, you kind of forget about it, you move on to the next project. But when a reader comes back to you and says that they liked your stuff, and I'm still one of those guys, I'm super humble about it because anybody can contact me and say, hey, if they liked it or they want to talk about it. I think when I published 4 or Highwayman in 4 and it went to audiobook, And I was contacted by a gentleman, and I won't divulge his name, but I mean, he was a high-ranking RCMP officer who worked in Ottawa. And he just sent me an email or a message. And he said, I just want you to know, he said, I listened to the entire 2 audiobooks. He said, at one point I caught myself driving around longer than I should so I could find out what happened next. And I'm always really humbled when somebody that works in that field, like you think a police officer, and this is a police procedural where they're chasing a serial killer, but it's
Okay.
we're not talking about Jason Voorhees. We're talking about chasing somebody like Ted Bundy or something like that. That's
Right.
almost a true crime element. So you're always worried that, you know, when the cops come, they're going to rip me to pieces, right? And nobody's perfect. We make mistakes, right? But I did a lot of research for this book. And any reader that comes back and tells me that they gave me a little piece of their life to read my book, that is the coolest thing in the world. That's bigger than any $1 million payoff, although I will take one. But I mean, it is bigger. That's why I do this.
Yes.
Essentially, I am the storyteller that sits down at the fire with you and tells you a story, and you either like it or you don't. But this is on a bigger level that you can put these books out there and they become timeless if people like them.
Right.
So.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today and talking with me and introducing everyone to the Highwaymen series and Acadia. Guys, definitely go check out the link in the description below where I will have MJ's books there so that you can take a look at those, but definitely check those out. And so thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an awesome pleasure.
Thanks for having me. I like just sitting down and having a conversation. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Anytime. And if you guys haven't already, please subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on great upcoming content. And everyone be safe, be healthy, and we will see you again soon. Bye.
Take care.